Hello, this is Hart Homes. Home is where the heart is. At Hart Homes, we believe everyone deserves to be housed with dignity. Hart Homes invests in Rochester through the creation of high-value housing at an affordable cost. So this is me, Benjamin Hart. Sometimes I suit up, but oftentimes I'm remodeling houses and I look like that. So in the United States, over 45% of renters have been victims of illegal acts by landlords, and many of them don't even know it. Here locally, 38% of Rochester City School District students changed addresses in 2021. And even worse, at any given time, 2,000 Rochester school kids are homeless. And this is an invisible problem. They're on couches, they're doubled up with family members, they are in shelters, but you don't see them out on the streets. So sometimes the problem goes unnoticed. And so that's what we're talking about today, is housing insecurity. It's a different problem than homelessness. And a lot of smart people are writing about it, like Matthew Desmond, who wrote Poverty by America and also Evicted. He said, home is where children find safety and security, where we find our identities, and where citizenship starts. And that's a key point, because we talk a lot about infrastructure, but we need civic infrastructure. And that begins at home, and it begins with strong neighborhoods. So I spoke to many people in the course of learning about how to solve this problem, and I heard from JD, who said, we need landlords who are ethical. I feel like they forget we are humans too. And honestly, I hear dehumanizing language sometimes, unfortunately, when I talk to other real estate investors. And then State Assembly member Harry Bronson said, you can drive 10 minutes from one part of the city to another, and life expectancy drops by 10 years. So unfortunately, a lot of Rochester looks like this. These properties might cash flow. This is, predatory, but it's profitable. So you can zoom in on one. This is one Hart Homes bought. It was on the cover of the Rochester Democrat Chronicle because it was owned by a city official and it was in such poor condition. So please imagine for a moment doing your laundry in this basement. Please imagine preparing a meal in this kitchen. Getting a good night's rest in this bedroom, and then washing up for work in the morning in that bathroom. And having to leave so suddenly that you forget and don't take your children's books with you. Well, that's that home today. There's that kitchen and there's that bathroom. There's that bedroom. And this is a home that you can live your life in and be proud to reside in. And this is what we were able to do with this. And it's not a one-time phenomenon. We are regularly remodeling dilapidated houses. This is an unsafe porch that we were able to bring up to code. We were able to take down this ceiling and put it back up. This is the kind of neighborhood that our neighbors and residents of Rochester deserve to live in. And our customers are a diverse cross-section of Rochester, so we're committed to fair housing. It's families and individuals. Your family can look like anything, your family can be anything, but it's really middle-income individuals and folks who want to be homeowners but just aren't quite there yet. So Hart Homes is for Rochester renters seeking a long-term lease of a single-family home until they become homeowners. We provide safe, affordable, ethical, and stable housing at a competitive price, unlike typical passive landlords, aka slumlords, and also gentrifiers that overappreciate the housing price and residents can't live there. So business model is nothing that fantastically new in terms of like the structure of it. We just buy houses that are dilapidated, we fix them up, we rent them, and then we sell them. One difference though, when we sell, we're selling to an owner occupant. We're not going to sell to another investor, another landlord. Because ultimately we know that 70% of the city is rental stock and 30% is owned, and the exact opposite split exists in every single suburb around Rochester. So that's the root cause of the problem. But we also know the typical family or individual is not able to buy these homes and doesn't have the capacity to remodel them in the way that Hart Homes can. So Hard Homes has a long-term vision, pathways to home ownership for our residents, ethical practices, and we're responsive to the marketplace. In many ways, we act like a not-for-profit agency because we have a social mission, but we're not dependent on grants in quite the same way. We can be responsive to the marketplace, and we're nothing like these passive slumlords. And that's important because we want a housing market that works. We heard from someone who said, I want a home, but I do not want a picture of me on Habitat for Humanity's website. This is a working person, and working people should be able to afford housing in Rochester. And Hard Homes wants to be your last landlord. We're showcasing these tenants that became homeowners after living in a hard home for a couple years. Neffy's a social worker, Colin's a nurse, and they were able to afford a home. They really just needed rootedness. They were able to access their own financing, their own funding. I gave them some tips and tricks, but ultimately they figured it out. But they wouldn't have been able to figure it out had they had to move 2-3 times in the course of the same period that they lived in one of our stable houses. So here are a few of those stable houses. This is our current inventory. I think there's only one not pictured, but I'll show that one later. This model works, but we have to wait for it to work. So Hard Homes Wealth Creation bought this house in 2015 for $45,000, fire damaged home, sale price of $121,000, capital gains $60,610. So it works, but time and money to source the deal, time and money to remodel, buy the deal, time and money to remodel the home. That's the step the slumlords are skipping, and so it's really a scaling problem that we're facing. So we're going to be targeting ESG investors. So, like I said, incremental growth has been good growth. We're profitable. We're making money. We have a lot of long-term deferred capital gains, but it is capital intensive and it slows growth. And Rochester really can't wait. So we want to grow our capacity. We want to get some work vans, some vehicles. Some of our contractors have talked about full-time work, some commitment. This is a news article that we were featured in. And the latest step is this capacity building step was to buy a commercial building, because Hard Homes is considered like a home-based business, and it doesn't have quite the same access to business supports without a commercial space. So we got a commercial space and 2 residential units going online. Big remodeling project here, so we're $25,000 deep into the remodel and more to come. But like I said, it takes time and capital to make this all work. We were able to target some ESG investors, at least at a micro level. We raised $10,000 in loan funding, $25, $50 at a time from the Kiva platform. And part of the mission is also to showcase our work, talk about ethical and sustainable real estate development, get on the radio, Imagine RIT, business plan competitions, events like this, talking to politicians that Demond Meeks. Particularly proud of our interview on WXXI with Evan Dawson. It's a popular radio show that talks about local issues. And we want to be a most favored nation in terms of like government and community partners. So we were working with the Credit Builders Alliance and the Mayor of Rochester and the Office of Financial Empowerment to help people build up credit. A lot of tenants are banking invisible. They pay their rent in cash, they cash their check, but it's not a trade line. So they can't build any credit. So, we are going to represent their on-time payments to the 3 credit bureaus. And most renters that have participated in similar cohort programs see 28 points on their credit report. So that's another thing we're trying to do to embed ethical and sustainable real estate. So I close with this slide because I think we got to think about the next generation, right? It's not just about profits. It's about embedding a social mission. This is going to be table stakes in the future. Millennials, we care about it. So I used to say always, I won't rent it to you unless I could live there. And now I say, I won't rent it to you unless my kids could live there. Thank you so much. I'm available for questions if you have some.
Any questions for our presenter?
Yes, you've been on WGKX.
I have not, but I would love to. I listen to WGKX. I'm friends with Cleonda. I talked to Sean about this stuff, Sean Nelms, so.
Yeah, that is Saturday morning program.
Yeah, I'd love to if you can help me make a connection. I'd love to get on and talk about it.
Any other questions for our presenter?
I actually have one. In your process, do you have some kind of process to transition your renters to being the homeowners of that home that they're renting?
Yes, so I have a informal process in the sense that I tell them I can be a resource for home ownership. I'm aware of the grants, I'm a licensed real estate salesperson, but I don't force it because I know those timelines evolve, and some people don't want to be locked into a credit, especially a rent-to-own contract that could be predatory. I've talked to tons of people, they get into a rent-to-own contract, they're not prepared at the end of the year, and landlords will repossess the property, keep deposits, and so I really need to be intentional and relationship-based. So Neffy and Colin, I help them. I've helped tenants become homeowners. I'm very proud of it when I do it, but I don't insist upon it, and I let it be relationship-based, one-to-one, and very intentional and thoughtful, I guess, because I've seen predatory rent-to-own practices. I would love to formalize it a little more, and we're working on that, but I just don't want to copy my competitors that are doing it the wrong way.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.